Today, my guest is the editor-in-chief of Gundelik Azerbaijan newspaper, Eynulla Fatullayev. Upon 4 years of imprisonment, he was pardoned by Azerbaijani president. Welcome to our studio. Thank you. How do you assess this pardon? First, taking the chance, I want to thank to Voice of America and Radio Liberty radio stations, because you all informed both the local and international community about the negative consequences of the legal negligence on my life. You know, I should have been released last year, because the European Court of Human Rights ruled for my immediate release, but the government brought another set-up charge against me. Of course, I should have been released because of the November 2010 and March 2011 decisions of the Council of Europe Ministerial Cabinet. I think, though it has been delayed, finally a fair step was taken about me and I was set free. International organizations, local right defense organizations, including the Institute for Reporters' Freedom and Safety, Objective TV, and different organizations fought for your defense. I can also cite Amnesty International, Article 19, Human Rights Watch, Reporters Without Borders, and others. You know, in prison I developed such a saying: the Azerbaijanis fight until they are tired, while the Europeans fight until they get a result. Azerbaijan government was thinking that they will keep me in prison by bringing another charge and the Europe will take a break. But the international community didn't give up and launched a new campaign for my defense. In prison, I read Vasilkov's book titled Letters to Olivia. It was presented to me by Nicholas Harassi. In the introduction of the book, the author says that I wouldn't have been released if it were not for Radio Liberty, but if it were for the Radio Liberty and Voice of America that my imprisonment didn't last long. You know, I would have been released at some time, of course, but the role of Article 19, Human Rights Watch, and Amnesty International made it happen soon. I want to also mark genius Thomas Hammerberg. You know, the International Coalition for Azerbaijan held a protest action before the British Embassy. Article 19 program director, my dear friend, a pregnant woman, was attending the event as well. I was impressed so much. How will you continue your journalistic activities? Will we be able to again read Gundelik Azerbaijan, Real in Azerbaijan? It is my first goal. As soon as I was released, on my way home, I was thinking about it. Yesterday, my old staff came together. Though they are now employed in different media agencies, we were together yesterday. Ramiz Mehdiev, the presidential administration head, says that in sovereignty democracy, the media shouldn't exceed the regime's framework and shouldn't conflict with the ruling establishment's interests. I was arrested because I exceeded this interest. I went out of the framework. I think that the goal of media, the press, is to serve the interests of society. If the real conditions allow, I will definitely continue the operation of the newspaper. If it is impossible, I will have to leave Azerbaijan. I discussed this issue with my friends. Is there any proposal on leaving Azerbaijan? Or it is just a desire yet? The European Union, which demonstrated a determined position on my release, had been negotiating with the authorities to ensure my deportation at least. It was their initiative. They wanted to save me from this situation. If I see that I cannot serve the society's interests and cannot implement independent journalistic activities, I have no other option. But there is some optimistic news as well. Mrs. Dinja Mijatovic had tense discussions with their president. The president told her that Fatullayev is a free citizen and he can continue his activities. I suppose I will use this chance to restore the operation of my newspapers. Besides, after I was released, the US Ambassador Bryce expressed his hope that my release will trigger changes in the political life of Azerbaijan. Therefore, I hope. While in prison, you made several statements noting your life was endangered. And now, do you feel any danger to your life? There were real threats in prison. I was threatened. Criminal figures were placed in my cell. They wanted to impose psychological pressure on me. I raised all these facts. I also was worried for my family. They received anonymous phone threats. None of our appeals had been investigated. You know, when I asked by a journalist if I would continue my journalistic activities, I answered that if my safety and favorable conditions for independent corporation operation is ensured, I will continue. The situation in media has changed in last 4 years. Now social media prevails in the world. Bloggers are replacing now journalists in prison. Do you intend to use social networking sites, blogging? You know, there's now a confrontation of two parties, TV and internet parties. Of course, I belong to internet party. Before my arrest, I was one of the developers of online media. The website of Real Azerbaijan was visited by 15,000 users a day. Secondly, we usually compare local situation with Russia, because these two are similar. Look, Alexander Novolov with one blog echoed in the Russia affected public opinion. I agree with you. Social networking has a great role, but I agree with independent owner Alexander Lebedev. Social networking, online journalism can never replace traditional, professional, investigative journalism. If we are not allowed to continue with print media, we can continue in social media. As for arrests, today I am shocked that the political arrests have become a common thing, common practice. My arrest echoed in 2007. The arrest continued further. Now, political arrest has become a common practice because if it becomes a common practice now in future, terror act will become a common thing as well. Therefore, we journalists should rise in alarm now and develop preventive measures. Thank you for coming to our studio. Today my guest was the editor-in-chief of Gundelik Azerbaijan newspaper, Eynulla Fatullayev.